All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on these massive solar farms and really dig into the high-tech detective work that keeps them running at their absolute best. Making sure we squeeze every last drop of clean energy from the sun. So this is the big question, right? For every single solar operator out there. Because a single panel that's underperforming, it doesn't just affect its own output. No, it can actually drag down an entire string of panels with it. It's kind of like a ghost in the machine, just silently stealing power. So how on earth do you find it? Okay, let's get into it. Just like any good detective, the very first step is to just survey the scene. Before any of the fancy gear comes out, technicians are out there doing a really thorough visual inspection, just looking for the obvious clues that something's not quite right. And they're looking for a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it could be something as simple as soiling, dust, pollen, bird droppings. Or it could be signs of something more serious, like physical wear and tear. Things like these brownish snail trails that tell you moisture has gotten inside, or even visible burn marks that are a dead giveaway of a dangerous hotspot. And that's where it gets really tricky, because often the issues that kill performance the most, things like tiny, stress-induced microcracks, they leave no visible trace whatsoever. And that means our solar detectives have to bring in some more advanced tools to, well, see the invisible. So that brings us to level 2 of the investigation. We're now moving into a world of diagnostics that looks for clues in wavelengths that our eyes just can't see. This is where the really cool tech takes over. Okay, so there are two key technologies in the toolkit here. First up is infrared imaging. It's basically a thermal camera that's looking for heat. Hotspots just light up, and they're a sure sign that a cell is really struggling. The second is something called electroluminescence, which is pretty much an X-ray for the panel. You pass a current through it in the dark, and it literally glows, revealing all those hidden microcracks that mess with the flow of energy. But, and this is a really important point, finding a hotspot is a lot like finding a fever. It confirms that something is definitely wrong, but it can't tell you how sick the patient actually is or what the real impact on performance is. For the final diagnosis, our detectives need one last, definitive test. So to really truly understand a panel's health, we've got to go beyond what we can see, even with these special cameras. We need to read its unique electrical signature. We need to see its fingerprint. And the tool for this is called an IV curve tracer. The best way to think about it is like an EKG for the solar panel. It puts the panel through a quick electrical stress test measuring its current, that's the I, and its voltage, the V, to create a graph. And that graph is a unique performance fingerprint that tells us exactly what's going on inside. And this right here, this is what we want to see. This is our baseline, the fingerprint of a perfectly happy, healthy solar panel. It's got this nice, full, rectangular shape that shows it's kicking out both the high current and the high voltage that it's supposed to. Any deviation from this perfect shape, well, that's a big clue. For example, if the curve looks kind of squashed from the top, our electrical fingerprint is screaming that the current is low. Now, this is often caused by something physically blocking the light. Dirt, dust, maybe a shadow. A lot of the time, it's as simple as the panel just needing a good cleaning. Now, what if the curve gets squeezed from the side? Well, that tells a completely different story. It means the voltage is dropping off, and that usually points to a more serious electrical fault inside the panel itself, or maybe an issue with how it's wired up to the other panels. This is a much more serious clue. And this one is super interesting because it actually shows the panel trying to save itself. When you see a kink or a step in the curve, it means the panel's internal bypass diodes have kicked in. The panel is literally rerouting electricity around a damaged or shaded part to protect itself, and it leaves this telltale signature in its electrical fingerprint. How cool is that? All right, so our solar detectives have all their evidence. They've got the visual clues, the thermal images, and that all-important electrical fingerprint. So how do they put it all together to crack the case and get the plant back to full power? Well, it all comes down to putting these two major pieces of the puzzle together. The thermal scan tells you where the fever is located on the panel, but the IV curve tells you what the real electrical impact is, how much power you're actually losing. You absolutely need both to get the full story and make the right call. And this all fits into a really smart, systematic workflow. This is really the heart of modern solar operations and maintenance. It starts with an automated alarm. Then there's remote data analysis. Only then does a technician actually go out to the field with a solid plan.
use this multi-level approach to find the root cause, and then, finally, they take action and document everything. The mystery is solved for good.
At the end of the day, this detective work is always getting smarter. The whole field of solar O&M is shifting from just being reactive, fixing things when they break, to being predictive, using all this data to anticipate problems before they even happen. And that is how we make sure the future of clean energy isn't just about being powerful, but about being incredibly smart and resilient too.